Добрый день. Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья. Мы очень рады вас приветствовать. Я не представляю, как можно здесь вообще что-то слышать, потому что везде, по-моему, такое эхо, но мы очень рады вас сегодня здесь приветствовать. У нас совершенно замечательные гости сегодня. И, как нам было сказано, вся наша... So it's not working? Not yet. I will somehow help you with that. Как мне было сказано, вся наша дискуссия будет проходить на английском языке. Но если... И мне было сказано, что у вас есть наушники с переводом. Если вы меня слышите сейчас на русском, вы мне помашите. А я сейчас попробую на английском. Hello, everybody. We are really very happy to welcome you in this beautiful hall. If you had the translation, please just wave. Все-таки все хорошо. We see the contact. Okay. Excellent. So, нет перевода. Друзья, нет перевода. Модераторы. They say, Vedrana, did you have any translation? You did? Okay. Channel 2. Канал номер 2. Перевод. Channel 2 for translation. Okay. I will introduce myself first. So my name is Мадлена Шагинян, and I am the academic head of Letovo School. I believe I was invited to moderate this session for 3 reasons. First of all, I am an international educator. The second reason is that I am a researcher of international practices. And the third reason is that I guess I'm really very passionate about what is happening in education today. I guess these are 3 reasons why you are all here, and we are privileged to welcome our guests today. So we have 3 experts, and I will just call their names, but I will ask them to introduce themselves so that they might tell you something new about themselves. So, Vedrana Pavletić.
Hello.
Can you please welcome with applause?
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, Ftenakis Vasileios Emmanoil.
Yes.
Welcome to the session.
Thank you.
And Elise, I have a difficulty in pronouncing your name in Finnish. Tarvainen? Tarvainen, yes. So these are, thank you very much for finding time for our discussion. And we have agreed that we are not going to show any presentations. We are going to have discussions with people who are interested in their job, who are passionate about education, and who probably have nice ideas to share about schools, but not just schools, but schools for all. So, my dear friends, if you allow me, the first question that I would like to probably ask would be, what associations do you have when we pronounce this collocation, schools for all? Can we start from you? Schools for all. So what associations do you have? What arises, what pictures arise in your mind?
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm a teacher and principal educator from 3 decades from Finland, and the question was excellent. What it brings into my mind, school for all for me means equality, it's equity, it's individualization. It's about enabling everyone in a school to reach one's potential. No matter if it's the child, the student, or a teacher or a principal, school is a place for everyone, where everyone can flourish.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question to open the discussion, Maдлena. Thank you so much for that. Maдлena already introduced me. I'm Vedrana Pavletić. I'm Development and Recognition Manager for the International Baccalaureate, which is an organization that has been established 50 years ago with exactly this motto in mind: school for all, school where all the attention goes to each and individual student. And that's exactly what my first idea is when I think about school for all. By the way, can everybody understand me? Do translations work? Okay, right.
If you understand what is being said, can you please smile? Please, just try smiling. If you're smiling, it means you understand us. Okay, I guess everybody's smiling, almost. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. I am Professor Vasilios Ftenakis, the president of the Didacta Association. That's the honor position. The main position is professor at the university, and I have developed the new curricula in Germany and in Italy, in Austria, and other countries. My answer to this question, usually we associate with the word school for all, and we mean for all children. But I think we have to extend this connotation to include all the human beings in all the places and lifelong. That means school for all means we all have to learn lifelong in each situation, and not only to reduce the meaning of these words into the institutions, into the schools, into the children. Thank you.
You have mentioned curriculum, and I guess curriculum is really very important. Перевод не работает у людей. Do you think I should do it bilingual? So you have mentioned curriculum, and from perspective of curriculum in your national systems and Vedrana in international baccalaureate, do you think that curriculum makes provisions for the schooling for all students? Or what should be changed in terms of making adjustments in curriculum from your perspective? Если говорить о программах, что нужно изменить в программах? Насколько программы предполагают вот эту вот возможность всем детям учиться и достаточно эффективно? Yes, you just go ahead. Guys, and I also encourage you ask each other questions. I don't want, it's ridiculous. We are discussing student-centered education, and I am kind of teacher-centered, like creating teacher-centered environment. So feel free to ask each other questions, please.
If I may start, I would like to put an idea of looking at the curriculum more in a planning the curriculum way. So it's not about being given a book that you have to teach, and then you teach it to your students, you get the feedback, you assess, and that's it. It's about the planning process that every team, everybody in the school, including the students, have to be engaged in order to design a curriculum that works for your specific situation in the school. Of course, you will take into consideration national requirements if you have to, but there's so much more that can be done outside of that box.
For me, was the development of curriculum a very intelligent way to change the education system. I was responsible for Bavaria, for the state of Hesse, for Vienna, for North Italy, and I have used this opportunity to change a lot within the education system. The first that I have changed was the theoretical approach. You all know that we have used constructivistic approaches according to Piaget and so on, and I have left this position introducing social constructivistic approaches coming from Moscow, Vygotsky and Mikhail Bakhtin. We have developed it further, and we have implemented it into the education system. If we take this position, we have to change our understanding of learning. learning is not anymore an individual-centered process, but it is a social construction. And that means that we use interactions between child, teachers, child, and parents in order to create knowledge and to construct meaning. If we accept this position, we have to change all that happens within the existing educational system. The second is we have introduced a new didactic approach. One of the questions that we have to answer in this session is how to motivate the children, the students.
Yes.
And my position is clear. You can only motivate the students if you introduce a didactic approach that includes the student as active co-constructor of its own learning. That is co-construction. We can later on go into the concept. The third point is we have introduced a new philosophy, a new understanding in order how to cope with diversities and diversity in general. We see diversity as a chance, as an enrichment, and through co-construction, we use diversity to extend the learning area and to have the win for all the participants. And the fourth point is we have introduced, we have answered the question how to combine the analogous and the virtual world in order to establish new learning places within the education system, a modern curriculum, new didactic approach, and new learning places, and a part of these learning places will be the virtual world.
Thank you very much. Elise, can you please add from your perspective, how can we motivate students?
Well, if I could give the very clear answer in a nutshell, I think I would get a Nobel Prize for this secret. It's a complicated process, as we all educators know, but motivating students actually means building and enabling facilities and an environment for them to engage. We cannot motivate anyone from outside. It's more of inspiring the desire of learning. And there are then several means that we need to concentrate on. One is selecting purposeful methodologies. It's about selecting the curriculum-aligned materials and equipment. It's organizing the learning environments in an inspiring way. And many practicalities, it's the work of practitioners very much, and it's very much of the hand-on work, the teacher knowing the group of students, their specialties, being able to diagnose, individualize and personalize teaching and learning. As we all know, something that we personally feel important for us, this is what we engage in. And this is what every teacher should be doing as individualizing learning.
It's so interesting. So takeaway one would be we can motivate them with the changes of curriculum, changes in learning environments. Vedrana, anything?
I have a very simple
Yes.
strategy, very simple answer, although of course it doesn't deserve a Nobel Prize.
We'll decide.
You have to be, and when I say you, I mean mainly teachers, have to be ready to answer a very basic question that we very often hear from students, and that is, why do I have to learn this? And so many times, especially in traditional environments, we don't have an answer for that because we were told to teach that. And why is that really relevant to a student of specific age? That's something that we must have to be able to answer in order to motivate the student. I think that's absolutely the first thing to do. And as soon as we do that, we will get this natural curiosity started in the student. You know, when they look at you with open eyes and they just wait for you to lead them on and to take them as you know, as co-constructors of that process.
And if I may, dear colleague, you just pointed out so important issue. And what I did in my school when I used to work in Qatar in an international school for a while, and I asked from my staff, consisting of 16 different nationalities, that which of you want change into our school? So now I will ask this question from you. So please raise your hand if you want change in your current school and environments. Which one of are looking for a change? Okay. Then the next question is that are you ready for the change? Are you ready to change yourself?
Изменения. Do I get it right that you mean... Okay. А кто из вас жаждет перемен в своей школе? Поднимите руку. Okay. А кто из вас уже в процессе каких-то трансформаций? Кто считает, что изменения и перемены преждевременны, неподготовлены? Elise, do you know that Chicago University did research and they found out that the only profession that is resistant to change is teachers? Do you agree?
Yes, and that is the most difficult thing.
Why? Why? It's so ridiculous. So you see people are willing to introduce some changes. Why does it happen?
If you look at the research that we have now focusing on the topic, how to moderate this transformation from the analogous to the virtual world, the main barrier are the teachers. Because the teachers are ready to change something, but if they have to change themselves, that's a problem. And the reason is that the education of the educators around the world is not qualified enough to prepare them for changes like this, for mega changes. And we have to rethink about the quality of the qualification of the teachers at the university in order to give them the base to be ready and able to moderate changes like that. For my point of view, and depending the motivation of the children, we have chosen 3 ways. The first way was change the didactic approach, giving to the child an active role as a co-constructor of its own learning process, including the teacher, not to teach and not to support the child, but to learn actively with the child. Change this quality of relationship was one. The second is change the learning places. One of the barriers is the construction of learning places. They are not good enough in order to support communication, to give the child the opportunity to regulate its own learning process itself. So the context has to be changed.
Agreed.
And the third approach is use technologies. I have analyzed all the research that we have in the field, in this field, and we published in 3 weeks 4 monographs about that. And the research tells us if you use technologies, the teachers are competent, the infrastructure is given, and the pedagogical concept is the best that we need, then we have an increase in engagement, as you said, and in intrinsic motivation of the students.
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead. By the way, guys, feel free to ask any questions.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm the mother of a Z generation kid, and I know that many of you teach that new generation. I have a question. Can you share your experience, how you change and adapt yourselves? Because you all realize that we're behind this generation in terms of technology, in terms of their knowledge, and they come to school already typing faster than they can do handwriting and those crazy curves that we force them to learn. So how do you adapt in your countries to the new generation of technology, Z generation?
Thank you. Vedrana, please.
Sure. I guess the key word would be, again, learning, because all of us who are involved in the educational processes must look ahead, must learn, and must research. And I think that's the key thing. You are not supposed, as a teacher, to be stuck in your classroom, and you are supposed to communicate. You are invited to get in touch with other teachers all around the world, basically, because that's very easy to do these days, right? And in that way, I think we can come closer to what our students actually expect from us.
I also think that what we have to do is to ask questions, and not only adults, but pose questions to students. They are sometimes much smarter than we are. I think that in this case, they're also very motivated to render assistance, to render help, and to lead adults. It's very exciting. But if you allow me, I would switch to a completely different question. You know, many schools actually do realize this need of change. Some change curriculum, others change learning environment, introduce international programs, but still the school has changed in terms of we used to grow up in mono schools, in mono age groups, in monoculture. Today, another challenge is that we have multicultural environments. How do we ensure that each kid from a different culture is happy in this wonderful school for all? And the second question, I even ask myself, to what extent do you think it is effective to group students not to their age, but to their ability? Not horizontally, but vertically. Will they succeed? Do you know any good examples?
It is a Russian tradition to educate the children in the same group. And I think that is not the normality. The normality
This is interesting.
Yes. The normality is that the children are growing up in different ages, in different schools. Look at the family. You very seldom have the situation that the children are from the same age. They are from different ages. If you look at the society, if you look at the informal groups, the normality is the diversity in different dimensions, in terms of age, in terms of social background, in terms of individual characteristica, in terms of cultural background, and so on. We have to accept that the diversity is the normality. And then to ask the question, how to cope with that? What is our philosophy? In my country, decades and decades, the diversity was a problem. The education system reacted to that in two ways. They ignored the problem, or they eliminated the complexity. And both ways are wrong. From my point of view, we have to accept the diversity as the normality in the life of human beings, and to develop concepts that can cope very effective with that. The co-construction is one of the concepts, because the co-construction invites each child out from different ages, with different individual characteristics, with different social and cultural backgrounds, to participate at the discourse, bringing its own solutions, ideas, thoughts, and co-constructing this dialogue and this learning process on the base of acceptance and respect. Mm-hmm. If you introduce a didactic approach from this quality, you can offer the best way for inclusion. And inclusion is the key to include and to invite all the different perspectives, all these different competencies. We have not only developed this concept, but also the implementation strategies for kindergartens. And I am very pleased to say that today 4 of the 6 books that we have published in this field are presented in the Russian language. So we can get these books, and looking inside, you find exactly how to do that concrete in the institution in order to make inclusion, to develop inclusion, in order to participate all the students, and in order to address the individual needs of each child. On the terms of a curriculum, we need not standards as you have. I know the standards from Russia because I have a close cooperation with the FIRO Institute. You need an open curriculum that gives the freedom and the possibility to adapt them to the needs of each child.
Thank you very much. I still would like to bring back the issue of diversity and this multi-age groups. So something from Finland.
Something from Finland and something from the Middle East with
Yes,
my
go ahead,
experiences
yes.
to share. I liked your idea saying that diversity is the new normal. And in this new normal, in a modern school, we are having a transformation quite rapidly into a very diverse learning ecosystem. The school is changing the nature, and in this new ecosystem, students are playing their own playlists, and our job as educators is to construct those playlists for the students, because they have the new capacities in this new normal as well, that they have learned from social media by being the digi generation. And my own children, they used to say that, "Mom, you are totally outdated." And I'm happy to be outdated and being aware of that. But it means that I need to find the new ways and give the space for them. And this is what I realized last year when working out in the Middle East. In my school, there were 60 different nationalities within 700 students. And this 60 is such a number that it was nothing to go with the national standards or any of these kind of special features, but looking at what is the biggest common denominator that we can bring into education, that we can have joint understanding as educators and as stakeholders as well. And I think that that's a new skill set that we as educators, we need to learn. And as you said, that it's all about learning.
Yeah.
Vedrana, what about IB?
Yes, I was just about to mention that, but I would also like to touch on the diversity in terms of nationalities. When we talk about international education, it can be happening in a mononational classroom as well, in a school where all the students belong to the same nation. International aspects of education can be incorporated in such environment as well, because we don't look only at national background, at cultural background. We look at all the personal, individual differences that each of the students possesses. So I think that's a kind of a broader aspect of this theory. In terms of international baccalaureate, embracing differences is nothing new. We have done that many years ago, and actually at the very beginning, 50 years ago, when a couple of educators decided to provide something more for their students, they looked at how to look at the students individually and embrace the differences. I will give you an example from language acquisition point. The curriculum, the program, the framework, if you want, is designed in such a way that the students are not supposed to be grouped according to their age, but according to their language acquisition level. So if they are learning an additional language, we should be looking at the level of their language proficiency and not really thinking of whether they are grade 6 or grade 7, and we are not allowed to put them in a classroom together. So thinking in that way works.
So do I get it right that it is possible that in the same language group we might have a kid that is 12-year-old and 16?
Yes, definitely yes.
Okay.
The problem that we have in Germany is that we don't have anymore a monolingual and monocultural society. Within the education system, 33% of the children are having a parent who is not German. Where is the education system with one language, with one culture? That is an utopia at the moment, and we have to recognize it and to develop concepts how to address this complexity, this diversity. And that is a challenge indeed. But there is ways, there is plans, there is a lot of concepts how to do that, and we have as educators to be informed and competent enough to implement new concepts addressing this diversity.
So as far as I understand, we can differentiate almost everything in a school. But if I asked all three of you, what does a differentiated classroom look like? What would you say to that? If I asked you, how can you see differentiated classroom? You enter the class and say, wow, this is the greatest differentiated class I have ever seen. What would you see there?
Open classroom doors.
Okay, open classroom doors. What else? You are also welcome to speak up, just any words that you find appropriate. What else, Elise, from you?
I wouldn't see there are any individual tables or desks. It's something to enhance co-creation.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay. So do you mean arrangements of tables, sofas, hubs, right? Yes?
If we want to implement that, we change the whole institution. The equipment, the curriculum, the materials are multicultural. If the child is visiting in the morning the institution, the child finds a tableau with the photographs and the welcome address in the mother tongue of each child. That means we try to support the message. You are welcome with your own language, with your own culture. That is one that the institution can implement.
But I have to disagree here with you because I don't think that all these people are capable to change the whole institution. Can you change the whole school today, tomorrow? It might take much more time.
That is not the whole school. It is that the teachers are doing with the students and how they design this institution. There is no restrictions about that. We don't have. We can design the institution as we wish, as we think it is good for the learning process.
If I may add,
yes, go ahead,
as
please.
part of my work, I visit a lot of schools, primary, middle, secondary schools, high schools, all around our region, Africa, Europe, and Middle East. And it's not about how you really equip the classroom. When I mentioned open doors, is actually more symbolic. When a student wants to explore something outside of the classroom, open those doors and allow him or her to do that outside of the classroom. It doesn't matter what kind of furniture you have in the classroom. Of course, it supports, good furniture supports the process, but it's not 100% relevant. What is more relevant is that the students have absolute freedom to change things in the classroom. I've been to so many classrooms that look absolutely amazing with so many great materials all around the walls and everywhere, but students are not allowed to change anything until next month, for example. And there's this one kid who really wants to add something that he did last night at home, and he wants to put it on the wall, and he's not allowed to. You know, that kind of approach, that kind of freedom must be in each classroom.
Thank you. Elise is ready to share a beautiful picture. Can you please explain a little bit, just provide some explanation of what is going on there?
Would be lovely to ask from you all that what do you see, and especially my colleagues to elaborate of what you see, because this is very much of our understanding in Finland at the moment, what the modern learning environments look like, and what are the components that the learning consists of. Like we have been talking about cohesiveness and comprehensiveness throughout the school, and the management practices that are shared by the teachers. It's about joint conception of learning, socio-constructivism, as you told, flexibility, varying working approaches, enabling students to be the heads of their own learning, being able to take the lead of their own learning processes, the whole responsibilities. And what I would like to add somehow into this is also that if we talk about curriculum framework, whatever are the standards, and we talk about the implementation, the missing component is then assessment and evaluation. We have a proverb in Finland saying that what you get, what you measure. So if the measures are not right, no matter what says in curriculum or what's done in the classroom, if at the end of the day the students are assessed against different standards. And that's why it's basically combined into this. And basically this is from one school that we opened last August. And it's quite typically showing what the Finnish schools look like at the moment.
Mr. Ftenakis, would you like to add anything to that?
If you like to find a very exciting school in which you can support the implementation of new concepts, you find it in Moscow. And that is the Škola. If you know this school, you find really a lot of innovative aspects about the school environment, about the methods that they are implementing. You have a very good example. The second that I have to say is nowadays we cannot implement innovative concepts without to change, to redesign the environment in which we implement these concepts. We need new learning places, not only within the schools, but outside of schools. We know that the more part of the variance of development of competencies is caused by variables outside of schools. So we began to recognize the importance of these learning places, to include it into the curriculum, and to reconceptualize the everyday life of the family as a learning place, the most important learning place. And for that, we just published this book in the Russian language, how to do it in the MINT area, in mathematics, sciences, techniques, and media.
I have to ask you a very complicated question from my perspective. So I guess both us and these people here, we do understand many things, and everybody knows what to do. But how would you motivate two categories of people? School administration to change, and the second group of people, it's teachers. What would you tell these two categories of people? Why bother? Why bother? Why should I bother? Because, you know, creating such an environment is not that easy. Why should I bother?
From my point of view, very shortly and briefly, there is one thing. If we put our focus on that we are actually educating the future leaders of our nations today in our schools, what would be most important or more important job at all. And if you had your focus on that, that you are making the future, so this is about it.
I was just about to ask whether we have any heads of schools, principals, vice principals in this group. A few.
Yes, there is one. Yes.
No, there's more. Yeah, I see
Okay.
hands, which is great. But it would be even better if we had more of them here, because we are talking about how important it is for students to feel free in the classroom, outside the classroom, in the school as a whole. But in order to facilitate that, teachers must feel free to suggest ideas, to create the environment that they would like their students to live in, to have enough time for collaborative planning and meetings with teachers in the whole school, for enough professional development, to meet with teachers from other schools, from other countries, from other continents. I think that's really, really essential, and I would really like all of you to take that message back to your principals if you have that freedom.
Thank you. Yes.
If I would choose these ways, it would take long time, and the results would be not very exciting. That is the reason. That is the reason because I choose a third way. If you want to change a system, don't focus on the weaknesses. Focus on the
This is
strengths.
very good advice.
And the strength of the system at the moment are not the teacher, not the administration, not the policy, the students themselves.
Brilliant.
They are digital native. They are very open. And I think the best way to change the system at the moment is going through the students.
Thank you very much. And I just want our participants to ask also questions. So do we all agree that every child matters? So I guess you might have had some insights from today's conversation, but still I see that there are some questions. Feel free to ask questions. Yes.
Hi, dear participants, thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question. As a teacher, you've covered some problems, but you never mentioned parents. In my work, I'm having some problems with parents sometimes, so if you could just briefly share if you ever had any problems in your countries, and how do parents communicate with school? Like, which power do they have, and how does school solve those problems? Thank you very much.
You definitely have to include them in everything you do. They have to be part of all the processes that happen in the school. And those of them who maybe don't have time or interest, you have to spend some energy and time really talking to them, making sure that they understand that what you do here in the school must be reinforced by what they do at home for the success of their children. So tons of communications. I mean, give them as much information as you can. Allow them to access classrooms, if possible, if your school policies allow for that. I think involvement and being informed is the key here.
In the curricula that I have developed, I have introduced 3 different approaches in order to redefine the relationship between family and institution. The first is inviting the parents to be co-constructors as the teachers of the individual learning biography. That introduces a very different quality of relationship. They are not the object of the institution, they are co-constructors. The second is helping the family to understand that every day the family life is the best learning place. That supporting the parents to understand what is education and not transmission of knowledge. And the third that I just test. I have myself an institution in Munich, a private, and the relationship between families and the institution is moderated by new technologies. If the child under 3 years comes in the morning with the parents and the child check in And if the child in the afternoon leaves, the child and the parents evaluates the work that we did during the day in the institution. They are co-constructors. We regulate through 6 different apps the relationship between family and institution. And each mother and father knows every day what happens with their child in our institution. That are chances, opportunities that we have to use. But the most important point is to accept and to respect the parents as the main educators of a child.
And there is not that much to add for the wise words my colleagues told. But if you want the parents to be your partners in crime, you need to allow and enable them first to be partners in success. Which I mean that it's very much, I would say, desire to have the parents engaged into success and positive feedback. And then later on, when things go wrong, you can expect support from them as well.
Thank you. I guess we are finishing. Or are there more questions? Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the very insightful discussion. I wanted to ask a question to Vedrana and to Elise. For Vedrana, I wonder about the IB position, about their engaging the technologies, online platforms, because in my idea of IB is that it is student-centered, but it is a teacher-led education. And how do you see how do you include technologies, and do you plan to really involve them heavily into the IB concept? And Elise is a different question about, as I understand, you worked in the Finnish system, but then you tried to implement it in a Qatari school. And the success of Finnish education is often assigned to the Finnish culture and the quality of the society. But Qatar school was so diverse, so how did it work there? Thank you.
As we have, if we have just less than 2 minutes time, very quickly, just one aspect of integrating technologies in international baccalaureate programs is middle years program e-assessment that was introduced a few years ago, and please, I invite you to look it up, to go to ibo.org and see it as an innovative approach to assessing the student accomplishments at the end of the middle school.
Thank you. Yes, Elisa.
And you are so right. No education system can be copy-pasted. Finnish education system doesn't work anywhere else but in Finland because it's so tightly anchored to the culture tradition. But what we can learn from each other, what education systems can learn from each other are the best practices. It's about the methodologies. It's about the curriculum implementation strategies. And it's about assessment paradigm. And this is something that is totally different in Finland than in almost all the other countries, is the paradigm of assessment and evaluation.
I like the expression copy-paste. I will keep it in mind. By the way, Elisa, do you remember what is the name of this room?
No idea.
I do.
Okay. Ushinsky. Do you have any idea who this gentleman is? No? So I want just something, a souvenir from Russia.
You're a real teacher, Maдлena.
Oh.
Teach us.
No, please. We have to finish in in some beautiful way. So Mr. Ushinsky said that pedagogy is the highest form of art. And I perceive you, my dear guest, as artists. Thank you very much for being here with us. And I think that probably if we manage to inspire these people that much, we succeeded. Thank you very much, and we wish you success. Thanks.
Спасибо.